Hi, and welcome to Tuesday Community Connections. This is the season of Advent, and it's kind of hard to believe that we've just passed that third Sunday in Advent. I don't know about for you, for me, it's gone fairly quickly. I mean, to think that we've only got one more Sunday of Advent before we come to Christmas and that Christmas celebration. This year, Advent, I think, is a bit different, and as we prepare for Christmas, that's a bit different as well because we're sitting in the middle of this pandemic. And everyone is looking forward to Christmas in one sense, to what Christmas is all about, but at the same time, what I hear is a lot of sadness and a lot of sorrow. Christmas can't be the same this year as it was. We can't gather together as a congregation and filling this building with hundreds and up to 1,000 people on Christmas Eve. It's just not going to happen. We can't have anybody here. You aren't going to be able to gather with your family and friends either, probably. Maybe the travels that normally you do aren't going to happen. Your gathering on Christmas will be small rather than a house full of people. It's not what any of us want. It won't be the same. And we wonder, will it feel like Christmas at all? Or can we really celebrate Christmas when it's like this? It's not fun to think about. But I also think that in all of this thinking, we're caught in the darkness and our pain and our despair. You think about what Advent is about is waiting for this baby to be born. And most of the time, when there's a baby to be born in the family, there's this impatient waiting. How long? When will this baby come? When will it get here? Other years we've waited for Christmas with excitement and with joy. Can't wait to get together with other people. Can't wait to celebrate. But what Advent is really about is those celebrations of Christmas, but it's a celebration of this baby, Jesus, God in the flesh, coming into our world. And whether we're going to be together with many, 30, 40 other people, or whether we're going to celebrate Christmas on our own, that's what Christmas is all about. Welcoming God, God in the flesh, into the midst of our world. And so even though we can't have Christmas the way we want, there still is joy, because there still is God coming to be with us, to be one of us. I mean, when you think about that, imagine what that is like. That here is God, the creator of the world, the one who created you and me, comes to be with us, to show us he loves us, to tell us that he cares about us, to tell us that he is with us in our sadness and in our sorrow, to remind us that he promises to give us hope and life and new life. So even though we're preparing for a time that's going to be very different, we still need to look at the hope that God comes in the flesh to be with us. And Advent is a time for us to prepare to welcome him again and to be reminded we're not on our own. One of my favorite Advent hymns is "O Lord, How Shall I Meet You?" And God Pause, if you read that, it was the hymn that was used for a devotion this past week. And that reminded me again of that hymn. My favorite verse is the fifth hymn, or the fifth verse of that hymn, and I'm going to read that to you. I'm going to read it from the LBW because I like the words that they use there a bit more than how they've been changed into the ELW. But here is the fifth verse. Rejoice then, you sad-hearted, who sit in deepest gloom, who mourn your joys departed, and tremble at your doom. Despair not, he is near you, there standing at the door, who best can help and cheer you, and bids you weep no more. It just struck me when I read that in the devotion this past week, that isn't that what we need, and isn't that what we're looking for? This God who comes to be with us. And these words say it so well. Rejoice then, you sad-hearted, who sit in deepest gloom. I mean, isn't that kind of where we are? Sitting in our gloom, trembling at our doom. And then those words of encouragement. Despair not. He is near you, there, standing at the door, who best can help and cheer you and bids you weep no more. What a great reminder that God is with us. That what Advent is about is God coming to be with us at Christmas and to show us that we're not alone. It's easy these days to get caught in the darkness, especially with the days being so short. Darkness seems to be there all too often. The challenges that we face, both with our political stress that we're going through, as well as, excuse me, as well as the pandemic that we're having to deal with as well. But this hymn calls us to lift up our heads, to look up, to look and to remember. We're celebrating a God who knows us and who wants to be with us. And Advent is a call for you and for me to focus not on the dark, not on the shortness of the days, but on the light. There is hope. God comes. I love the Advent wreath where every week we light one more candle. Start out with just one, that little flicker of light. But as time goes on, and now after we've had the third Sunday of Advent, 3 of those candles are lit. The brightness is getting bigger. God is coming. The hope is stronger. And so we prepare during Advent for Emmanuel. Emmanuel meaning God with us. And those candles show the brightness of God's presence, even in the midst of dark. And sometimes it is when it's darkest that those candles shine the brightest. We're in a dark time, I think, just with the pandemic and with the stress in our culture, but also just the shortness of the days. It is a dark time, but we look at those candles that are lit, the brightness of those candles that remind us that there is hope, that there is good. And so this year, Christmas indeed will be different. Probably not what any of us had hoped for or wanted, but it will be Christmas. God comes, whether we're just 3 or 4 people, or maybe 1 or 2 people, not the way we'd wanted, but God comes even then. There is the brightness of the candle of Christmas, of that hope, of the light in the darkness. And so I encourage you these days as you prepare for Christmas, in those times that are most difficult, or those times of despair, those times of feeling bad that it just can't be the way you want. Listen to these words again. Rejoice then, you sad-hearted, who sit in deepest gloom, who mourn your joys departed and tremble at your doom. Despair not, he is near you, there standing at the door, who best can help and cheer you and bids you weep no more. You are loved by God, and God comes at Christmas, whether we've got a bunch of people around us or nobody at all. God comes, and in the darkness, God comes bringing light and life and hope. And where God is, there never is complete darkness. There always is, even in the midst of our challenges, the brightness of God's presence that reminds us God is in control. God is stronger than anything. God has the last word, and God's word is light. So God bless you as you continue your Advent journey. And may you look and see the light that is there and be reminded you don't have to be afraid. Focus on the light, not on the darkness. God bless you this week.